Did you receive information about a potential sex trafficking ring?
There was several different leads or tips that come in about sex trafficking rings. All those were investigated.
Okay.
Like sex trafficking was the family business.
Over there.
I ain't
Over
going
there.
for it.
As far as what's going on.
So, like I was, and I got a really, really bad heart. Operates at 5%. So I was in a hospital when the police contacted me, and so it took me by surprise. So they asked if they could give the grandmother the number. I'm like, yeah, because we had lost contact. So they gave her the number. So I continued talking to the police. Everything, like she said, everything that this woman has said, it's been like in a common way. Like, she's a straight A student. She sent me pictures of, like young pictures, like to where in my mind I'm like, okay, my baby's still okay, So with Ziyah and Ziyah mom, just briefly, okay, we had made an agreement when she was born that the grandmother would take care of her. Now, the grandmother needed full rights to be able to provide full care, So we both signed over our rights to the grandmother. I put myself on child support. Now, once you did that, I put myself on child support. I would still go over their birthdays, taking clothes, everything. When I had this procedure done to my heart, I didn't have a phone for a while because I was in the hospital. They put a defibrillator pacemaker in. I had to go to rehab to work, so I lost contact. When I got out of there, they had moved, so I couldn't get in contact with them. Now, forward 3 or 4, maybe 5 years later to now, however much time that was, now my daughter's missing. And that's when the police came down.
Okay.
So that's briefly.
Okay. Now, I want to say, without, I don't mean no disrespect by it, but without getting into too much your business, your personal business, I guess as deep as you want to go, why was it that you felt like you needed to give your rights up to her as opposed to raising her yourself if you knew that the mother was in whatever condition that she was in where she couldn't take care of her? Why didn't you take her?
All right. So, I made a decision, for one, without my wife knowing. See, I'm married, so I made a decision without my wife knowing, and her name is Chantel. Tail knew my position what I was in because we had worked together, and we had told the grandmother, the situation. So, and I know people are going to go ham or whatever, but I tried to be as responsible as my mind at that time could take. And, I didn't run. Everybody want to say something. Go get them other guys that ain't taking care of this and ain't taking care of that. I took care of it. So, it was only because at that time, in my mind, I was trying to protect my wife's feelings without her even knowing.
Ziyah Harris was just 13 years old when she vanished from Detroit, Michigan on January the 9th, 2024. Ziyah Harris had been staying with her grandmother and legal guardian, Annette Harris, who reported her missing to Detroit Public Schools on January the 10th, 2024. Sadly, Ziyah nor her body has been found. At the center of this heartbreaking case is Jarvis Butts, who was 41 years old when Ziyah Harris vanished. His ties to the Harris family run deep. He shares 5 children with Shannon Harris, Ziyah's aunt, and the sister of her mother, Kewana. According to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office, investigators uncovered disturbing text messages from 2022 that revealed Jarvis Butts had an inappropriate relationship with Ziyah. Authorities believe he got Ziyah pregnant and took unimaginable steps to silence her. You would think someone like Jarvis would have learned his lesson, especially after spending 10 years in prison for a similar crime involving a minor. But instead, investigators say he repeated the same disturbing pattern, this time with Ziyah. Prosecutors believe Jarvis didn't want Ziyah to give birth to his child. That fear, they say, led him to attempt an at-home abortion before he allegedly unalived her. Jarvis Butts' final conference is set for June 2025, with jury selection beginning October the 6th, 2025. He's facing charges tied to Ziyah's case as well as others. So here's an updated photo of Shannon Harris. Now, someone made a Facebook status just saying they saw Shannon Harris out and about in traffic. They did tag Shannon in the status. Shannon obviously saw the tag, went under the comments and said, "B word, don't clout chase. That was yesterday, not today." In that same comment section, someone uploaded a photo of Shannon Harris within that comment section. Now, today I do want to get into is this Facebook Live recording that was done. In this recording, it is Roxy, who is Shannon Harris' extended family, and her mother, Miss Kenya, and Marc D, who's the host of the 7 Mile Radio. Now, in here, they cover various topics, but some of the highlights of this is, for one, Miss Kenya is going to break down the family structure of how herself and Roxy is related to Ziyah, because the question keeps coming up is, are they really related? Now, I've covered this on my channel before, so there's past videos you can check out. Miss Kenya is going to address Vari, who is Ziyah Harris' brother, the allegation that he was a runaway. Vari did a past interview. According to him, he made the decision that he was going to leave the house. But according to Mrs. Kenya, she tells a different story. So I want you guys to pay attention to that. In addition to this, Miss Kenya is going to break down what happened, why she made that post on Facebook. I know it's been said in past panels, but this is the first time that I saw that this was addressed on video, where it's her and Roxy and Marc D. So I'm going to play that, and there's a lot of other things that they address. Now, Roxy is going to talk about the Facebook post that Shannon Harris made. Now, if you recall, Shannon Harris has 5 children by Jarvis Butts. One of the kids that she has by Jarvis, she has a son. She gave birth to him on November the 26th, 2021. She also has another son that she gave birth to on January the 27th of 2023. So the son who she gave birth to on November the 26th of 2021, that is the one allegedly that Jarvis Butts was denying. Now, what's interesting is because on November 21st, Shannon celebrated Jarvis Butts' birthday with him. She says, "Happy birthday, Mr. Butts. Enjoy your day, night, my guy." Just 7 days after celebrating the birthday, well, whether she celebrated his birthday with him or not, of course, we don't know that. So I'm not going to say that. But what this says is that it says, "Happy birthday, Mr. Butts. Enjoy your day or night, my guy." So that's what she says. Then she follows up with that post and she says, November 28th, "Wow, denying my son." So obviously Jarvis was denying her son that she gave birth to on November the 26th of 2021. Then Shannon Harris follows up with that and she says on November the 30th, "Like I said, deny one, deny all. Now continue to look." Okay, so Jarvis Butts was obviously denying it. And the reason why I brought that up is because they're going to talk about that. So Shannon Harris has a twin sister, as we all know. Her twin sister name is Markeeta. Markeeta has a son and she has 2 kids. So Markeeta's 2 kids, she has a daughter and she has a son. Unfortunately, her daughter was a victim to Jarvis Butts and her daughter testified at the preliminary hearing. Now, her 2 kids do not share the same father. So we're talking about Shannon Harris' sister, Markeeta Harris. Okay, Shannon Harris' sister, her two kids, they don't share the same father. The daughter, her father, Debo, previously took to Facebook Live and he addressed how he felt about the whole situation with his daughter. That is on my page. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. Now, in a subsequent discussion, Debo had shared that although Markeeta's son was not his biological son, that he had taken the son so that the son would not be lost to state custody. Now, there's an update to this that the father, his actual father, now has sole custody of his son. So if you see in this post here, he said, update, I currently have sole custody of my son. God is great. He's currently still in Detroit, spending time with his little sister and family before I return to Detroit to relocate him to Las Vegas with me. Thank you to all the prayer warriors who hasn't stopped since they started. Thank you to everyone who's reached out to me concerning this situation. So he is basically saying, thank you, everyone. Now, this was before he actually returned to Detroit and got his son. So now he actually has his son. And in a subsequent post, he did share that he now has his son. And he also, thanked Markeeta for allowing this to happen. So, and then now prior to him taking custody of his son, Markeeta, May the 24th, 2024, she actually shared the biggest deadbeat award goes to, and she put his name. She said, you have earned this award. Silence here comes the deadbeat to accept his award. So she called him a deadbeat back in May of 2024, but it looks like now he stepped up. He has custody. Now, I will say there was a plethora of comments related to the situation. And in the comments, he shared that at the time when all of this was going down, he was not in the position to get his son, but he was taking the necessary steps to get him. And obviously, according to him, once he put everything in motion to include being financially ready to take his son, then he got him. So I'm going to go ahead and play.
He basically came home from prison and it seems like went right back to his same old activities.
Sadly, Ziyah's father, who'd been battling health issues, recently died without ever finding out what investigators believe happened to his little girl. Details the rest of her family now waiting to hear, particularly Jernell and Kewana, who say for years they've been trying to raise the alarm on the man who is now at the center of the case.
We have been adamant about not just letting the family know, but Child Protective Services know way before Ziyah came up missing.
During this whole time, I found out there were 2 other CPS cases naming him in several incidences related to children, other than the one that I reported.
We just need closure. We absolutely need closure.
Loud and clear.
All right. So we ready to get the story out here, how this began with Kewana?
Yes, and she, came for me in the comments.
Cause y'all going back and forth. That's that ain't nothing but the devil, and that shouldn't be happening right now, especially on live on Facebook. We all got to work together because the bigger story is about Ziyah. But anyway, Kewana came to me and said she needed some advice. That is true. So Kewana began telling me the story about Annette's sister that had came over to the house, and she let her daughter stay over there. And Kewana told me the story about what had happened over there in Annette's house or whatever with the kids. So I said, well, Kewana, I said, you know how I am. I'm going to go on Facebook Live. I'm going to blow this shit out the water if I find out that this is true or whatever. So I'm going to call Annette's sister and verify this story. So I did exactly that. I called Annette's sister. I said, let me speak to your daughter. She put her daughter on the phone. I asked her the story of what I heard had happened over there at Annette's house. She confirmed that had happened to her, aka by Jarvis. And I said, okay. So I called Kewana back. I said, Kewana, I'm about to put this shit on Facebook. I'm about to blow it wide open. And she said, okay, cuz, do what you gonna do. I said, now you sure now? And Kewana said, yeah, I ain't into getting into that media stuff and all of that stuff. So I said, okay. So when I went on Facebook, I blew it out the water with Shannon. And Markeeta tried to take up for her, calling me a liar, and I didn't know what I was talking about, and blah, 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 blah.
One second, where was I at?
You was still in Texas. You didn't even know nothing about this except for what was going on
Right.
Facebook.
Right, okay.
So this was in
January of 2023. So this was a whole year before this even got exposed. So Kewana's coming over to the house. I'm going back and forth with Kewana trying to get this stuff resolved. She was telling me about Vari. Vari had got put out the house. So I told Kewana, I said, well, contact Vari and let Vari, I got a place for him to stay. He can stay here with me and he can go to school from here and he'll be all right or whatever. And she never would give me his phone number for me to talk to Vari. Vari know who I am. Just like Ziyah know who I am, because I would go over in that house constantly, and see them or whatever. Vari's birthday is the same day as your brother's birthday. So I always gave Vari money on his birthday, so Vari know who I am. She would never put me in contact with Vari, never brought Vari over to the house so I could help Vari and really, kind of dig into Vari and see if he knew anything what was going on over there at the house was true, because I went over there all the time. And to be truthful, the last time I saw Ziyah, every time I would go over there, I would hug Ziyah. She was just this happy little girl. And like the last couple of times I went over there to see her, there was a change in her. And I thought maybe it was just because she was coming into her teenage years. And then the last time I saw Ziyah, she was really withdrawn. But I would have never thought in a million years that was what was going on over there. So with Kewana bringing me that story and stuff, I went off on Facebook Live with Shannon and them, and I told Shannon, I said, so you'd rather have a child molester over there and around everybody, and this man is a child molester? I said, I don't understand what's going on. She's telling me to mind my business, this and that. But the real story is that Kewana said that she didn't want to be on Facebook with none of this stuff. She didn't want to be in the media with none of this stuff. So when you came, me and you talked about it or whatever, I was like, well, Ziyah's going to need a voice. And then that's how you end up taking over the story or whatever. So I don't understand the back and forth as far as what Kewana is talking about, because she didn't want to do it. We needed somebody to be the voice in the family. You got time to do it. So I don't see what the big problem is. I don't understand why y'all going back and forth right now, why Kewana is lashing out. Kewana didn't want to do none of this. And she had a chance to do all of this.
So now I feel like I need to say something, right? Because number one, when my name was inserted into this conversation tonight, it was in regards to Roxy being in my space. And yeah, just like Roxy said, I asked her to be a part of the media team, because of her interest in journalism, as she met me, seen the studio, and seen all of the shit that I was into, right? So, but my wonder is, why is there such of an interest in how close of friends me and Roxy have became over this period of time by her?
Because people have gotten jealous.
Because this ain't the first time. This ain't the first time that this notion has been put on the table, or not only put on the table, but came out of the mouth of this individual for some reason. And I wonder why that is, when she had such of, for one thing, was so adamant on wanting to come over my studio, and not wanting to come over my studio for an interview, right? Because when she had the opportunity to come over for an interview, she declined. Okay.
What you trying to say? She's trying to hit it? She's trying to hit it? She's trying to get something?
Okay, so I'm just gonna go here with this from that question. So Roxy, how many times was it that you were in the car with me when somebody called me? And what was the climate of the conversation?
Oh, so she was on the whole prowl. She was on the whole prowl. Oh,
so I was trying to figure out why was it that she would why did it go from her attempting to try to be so fucking close to me to being jealous apparently of how close me and Roxy had gotten to now when I'm nowhere near the motherfucking radar of the equation of the conversation that's going on, now I'm being brought back up on me and her's relationship. What the fuck do that got to do with any motherfucking thing? When I asked her and Jernell about coming to my podcast, right? Guess what? Jernell wanted to do it. But guess who didn't? Guess why it didn't happen initially? Because somebody else didn't want to show her face on social media. Okay. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 podcast episodes later, when we talking about interviewing for this and interviewing for that, then this individual comes out and say, oh, well, I want to do an interview. And then when I say, all right, well, let's come do the interview. No, I changed my mind. I don't want to do the interview.
Yeah, that's her.
And then fast forward to now when Fox 2, and guess what? When the interview that Roxy did, when she did the Fox 2 interview, when she was on the west side, I called her and I said, hey, Fox 2 about to meet me on the east side to do an interview. You want to come over there? And she like, yeah. So I called her to like, she didn't even know nothing about the Fox 2. I called her, and after I left, when I told y'all I'm about to drop this bombshell on Fox 2, when I left, Roxy pulled up after I was gone. So we didn't even meet there. So I said all of that to say it was after now that Roxy get on the news story that catapulted her to this YouTube type documentary shit that now other people want to come out and show their face. And it was almost as if now that Roxy is getting the notoriety and being seen as the face of Ziyah, now somebody else want to come out and be seen and show their face as, oh look, it was us, we the family members. But where was all of this motherfucking motion at in the beginning when the motion was happening?
And let me say this. Let me
September.
Hold on. Let me make this real clear to all these people out here talking about Roxy is not related, blah blah blah. Let me straighten y'all out right now. I am Annette's cousin. We are first cousins. It ain't like we want to be related to these nasty motherfuckers. No way. Who wants to claim them? We don't want to claim them. We don't want no clout from family members that's cut like that.
At all.
So unfortunately, we are blood related to them. Annette and I are first cousins. The twins and Annette kids are first cousins to Roxy, my daughter. Roxy is my daughter. So we are unfortunately related to them nasty, sloppy motherfuckers over there on the east side. We related to them. We don't want to be, but we are. So let me set that clear.
So, and the reason why I went over there, I went to Kewana house the one time, right? And it was to have a conversation with her to get information to see what the fuck she knew about the ID, right? The ID that was found on the west side somewhere. And I'm like, she seemed to know a little bit too much or not enough. Like, what the fuck? So let me go talk to her. And this is my first time meeting her. And I'm just trying to not only get the information, but probe the energy of this personality of this person that I'm getting this energy from, this information from. So now I went from there to now this motherfucker trying to, where you stay at? Where you stay? Why the fuck do you want to figure out where we're not friends that you're just going to casually pull up at my house and chill? I don't have time like that. Do you know how many motherfuckers blow me down every day to just talk sweet nothings? I don't have fucking time to get to know nobody that I don't have time to get to know.
She want to get to know you.
With no reason to get to know you.
She wants you.
She wants to know that
her cousin next to you.
She want to go to Texas. So what?
A lot of people that follow me that's coming over here telling you how much they don't like you. I want to send a big fat fuck you out to all of the people that don't like me, right, that's following right now, because you wouldn't fucking be here talking about this shit right now if it wasn't for me and how I do shit. Since you don't like me and how I do shit, you wouldn't even know shit about this motherfucking story if it wasn't for me.
And we thank you for that, Marc. We really do.
So you're going to sit here and watch me do shit how I do it, or you can get the fuck off of my page and not so I don't give a fuck about the people that don't like me, because you ain't never did a goddamn thing to support this platform to push it forward anyway. And guess what? When your motherfucking cat come up missing,
he said,
don't fucking inbox me when your little 14-year-old fast ass daughter and shit walked out the house with Mr. Richard around the street, around the fucking corner, and you want Batman to come and help find your fucking fast ass daughter. You remember the shit that you said about me?
Damn.
It's in Springfield with the dogs in Springfield.
Wow. Damn.
They're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs.
Yeah, I'm Roxy's mother. I sure am.
How y'all see the comments? I can't see none.
They're at the bottom. You got to hit the words. But
Motherfuckers following me, and then they gonna follow you and tell you how much they don't like me. Like you ain't gonna say shit. Man, fuck you.
Okay, so I'm going to play this clip here in closing. This clip is significant because Sergeant Shannon Jones, this is during her cross-examination when Jarvis Butt's defense comes up, and this is after she's provided testimony. So they're trying to put up a defense with him, and if you pay attention, some of the points that they bring up is that you received tips about there being an alleged trafficking. Did you investigate that? Did you follow up on that? Why did you immediately declare this to be a recovery case? You was not treating this as a missing person case. So his defense is trying to establish that maybe they didn't thoroughly investigate this. Maybe there's other suspects. They always treated Jarvis Butts as a suspect, but did they rule out the possibilities of others being involved? Why was Jarvis Butts named to be the suspect? So it's very interesting because in addition, the defense attorney says, Shannon Harris said that you told her in February that this was not a missing person case. How do you guys believe that that information became known to Jarvis Butt's defense, that Shannon Harris said that they were not treating it as a missing person case? If you watched in one of my other videos, Shannon Harris said her and Jarvis didn't discuss Ziyah Harris' disappearance. So if we believe that to be true, do you guys believe maybe this was in a file that the defense attorney got and they saw that Shannon Harris said that? Or how would the defense attorney know this? Second, do you believe that the police did a thorough investigation? Should they be considering other suspects based on what we know at this point? Now, if you watch my last video, then you know that the forensic scientists testified to the fact that they ruled Jarvis Butt's DNA out as far as the hotel. That's only the hotel, but they said that there were other 4 contributors, with one being a male. Now, Shannon Jones didn't get this case until February. There's past videos on my page that explains why. At the point that Shannon Jones got the case, she ordered some testing. And when this testing was done, it was done at a hotel. The DNA testing is a high traffic area. So this is why other contributors could have potentially been there, or maybe the other contributors are people that could potentially be involved. That's a possibility, hasn't been ruled out, but keep this in mind. We don't have all the details. This is only the preliminary hearing. I'm pretty sure there's going to be more to come at Jarvis Butt's formal trial. So drop your comments below and let me know. Also want to say thank you everyone that tunes in, that likes, comments, and if you choose to subscribe, I definitely appreciate you.
Anything, correct?
What was your
The
question?
prosecution has referred back to you to make sure they haven't missed anything, correct?
Correct.
So you're the person that makes sure everything in the file is together, correct?
Correct.
And you interviewed several of Mr. Butts' girlfriends, correct?
Yes.
You interviewed, I believe, Tashiana Davis and Shannon Harris on the 15th.
Yes.
And you interviewed Najeen Rushing on the 29th, correct?
I haven't looked at that date, but I trust that that's the 29th.
Okay. Did you interview any of his other girlfriends?
Yes.
Okay. Which girlfriends did you interview?
I interviewed Kizzy Young.
Okay.
There's Tashiana Davis.
Okay.
Angela, and I just cannot remember her last name at the moment, but she is who he resides with on Wilshire.
Okay.
I attempted to make a phone call to another girlfriend. I'd have to look up my reports, but she never came in for an interview.
All right.
There is another girlfriend who her name is Lucretia Bryant Hauser.
Okay.
That may be all the girlfriends. I may be missing one. I would have to relook at all the witness statements.
So you are aware that Mr. Butts has quite a few girlfriends, correct?
Correct.
All right. And from the very beginning of this case, you suspected, from your beginning of the case, you suspected Jarvis Butts had something to do with Ziyah being missing, correct?
Well, when we were discussing the case on the first day, February 12th, DPS had told us the last person that they had contact with and they identified as Jarvis Butts. And then on February 15th, when we verified that Ziyah was in fact with him and Cordell on the ride out to Ypsilanti, which is the last day that she was seen, then he became primary suspect.
Okay. And from the beginning, you didn't suspect this was a missing person case, correct?
Well, she's missing. It's been a missing person case. I don't understand your question, I guess.
So you suspect that she was deceased, correct?
I didn't expect that she's deceased from day one. It takes a lot of investigation before you can come to that conclusion.
Okay.
It's not going to be one of those right away. You have to rule out every other possibility.
All right. Didn't you tell Shannon Harris in her interview on the 15th that this is not a missing person case at this point?
I believe I told her that it was not being handled by DPS as a missing person case at that point, and that it's being handled at Detroit Police Homicide Missing Persons.
So you didn't tell her that this was not a missing person case? We're no longer looking for a missing person?
I don't believe that would have been my exact wording.
Okay.
On February 15th?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't believe that would have been my wording, that I would have already come to some conclusion that she was deceased on the 15th.
Okay. Now, during your investigation, did you receive information that Ziyah had thought about running away?
Yes.
Okay. Also, during your investigation, did you receive information about a potential sex trafficking ring?
There was several different leads or tips that come in about sex trafficking rings. All those were investigated.
Okay. Now, you interviewed my client, you yourself, with, I believe your partner was Sergeant Lynch, is his name?
Sergeant Sullivan?
Sergeant Sullivan, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You interviewed my client 3 times, correct?
A minimum, I believe, one the 31st, the 1st, and I believe we went back again
July
possibly
20th?
that.
July 20th?
That sounds about right.
Okay. And you interviewed him 3.5 hours, May 31st, correct?
Is that the time on the recording? Then
Yes.
Okay.
An hour and a half, the second time, correct?
Correct.
And roughly 45 minutes, I believe it was like 38 and some change, the third time.
Okay.
So you interviewed him for close to 6 hours?
That could be true.
Okay. And you took statements from my client, correct?
I mean, we recorded the interview.
Okay. You didn't reduce anything to writing, correct?
No.
He never signed anything, correct?
But he signed his advice of right.
Signed advice of right, but he never looked at.
Hey, viewers.
You right here at this part.
Yep, I'm across the street right here at Vari.
Cover this up.